Hello and welcome to another model video. This is Alan from the McConaughey at YouTube with another discussion video regarding model competitions. The last two videos have been the more advanced aspects of the IPMS and Gunpla Builders World Cup sets of rules and judging criteria. Today I thought I would focus on the beginners and look at 7 top tips for entering your very first or any hobby model kit competition or contest. Tip 1. Acquire and read the rules and guidelines for the competition. The most common set of rules are inspired by the IPMS, and there's an awesome hand guide written and linked down below. But you have your pretty much sponsored competitions, which are very likely to have quite a bit of stipulations and rules, which could easily get you disqualified or asked not to enter, as well as the IPMS that you're free to enter any category, but if you build it by design to suit the category or rule set, you would have a far more greater experience in placing and participating over doing a random entry without having much of an idea what you are doing. Online also has a completely different mix judged by photos. From my experience, if you discover of a competition you've never participated or entered before, taking a model off the shelf, dusting it down and entering it is perfectly acceptable, as well as building up a backlog of finished kits that can be packed up and taken to a competition. Many other people build a model by design that fits suitably into the rules or category of the competition, as well as not violating any of the stipulations, and finishing the model well before or on the due date of when it's to be brought in and put on display or photos are due. Also, from experience, if the rules are not too clear, asking people in the community as well as the organisers are perfectly acceptable, and they're very keen to help unless it's been asked elsewhere, and you can priorly read it. Take some time to do some snooping around before you do ask. Most likely, if it is a stretch on the rules or quite an outliner of what is stipulated, chances are the answer is going to be no. From experience, this is more challenges or themed rules or competitions with restrictions for fun than an open competition. Consider how you will transport your model. Is it going to go in the back of a car and driven to the venue, carried on public transport, or flown in an aircraft and having to go through inspections and customs? If flying, definitely don't include anything in your model that would get you in trouble. And if required to go in a box, make sure you're able to break down a much larger model into smaller components, wrapped up in plastic or bubble wrap, and placed in a box with fluff. Placing smaller components in a Chinese food container also works very well, and placing everything in a larger container. When packaging, also allow ample time for the paint to cure, as paint can react to certain plastic surfaces like bubble wrap or cling wrap, where a Chinese food container may be more suitable, or foam if it's just freshly painted and you're running out the door. Also consider there may be damage occurring to your model as you're transporting it, especially if you're new to transporting kits, especially by your design and build. Pack very basic tools, tweezers, super glue, hobby knife, and a couple of bits of paint and a brush for touch up in the case or event of scratching. Number 3. Once your model has safely arrived at the competition, consider when it's on display on a shaky table to a glass cabinet, will it be handled and moved for photographs or moved to another part of the venue by the competition staff and judges? Or will they move the model around to see other sides of it and be judged? Is a simple shake of the table going to make your kit fall apart into many pieces, or is some parts glued and rigged so weakly that a fragile touch will make it fall apart? These models may not be suitable to be brought outside the house unless it's solidly mounted to a base where the base can be handled, or mounted to a base and some sort of acrylic or glass casing applied over it. These can be purchased or made if that's the case. If you are building a snap kit, a lot like a Gundam, or has a lot of articulation, consider the pose that you're going to put it in. If you're happy with a very dynamic pose, glue it together so it stays that way, yet pulls apart in a few strategic places for easy transportation, particularly very thin or fragile bits like blades and antennas. Now, if it is in a million pieces and it's snap, parts that you never have to remove again, such as armor bits or small detail, should be glued in to prevent being lost or broken or popping out at random intervals. If this is after painting and not to damage the finish, wood or PVA glue thinned down does a wonderful job as it does not leave a mess behind. Number 4. Now this one should go without saying, but conduct and behaviour. These are social events, and chances are many modelers, being a solitary activity, not so social themselves. And once you go to these competitions, it's a brilliant outlet to meet people, find out if they're really close to you, and form hobby-like relationships and friendships. When at these competitions, talking about other people's work should be considered how you would like to have your work treated and talked about. Rubbishing or trashing an individual's piece in public, especially if it is pretty poor, is frowningly looked upon. You do not know who knows the modeler in the area and if we'll report back to them. You also don't know the mindset or conditions of the modeler. The last thing you want to be caught is talking flack about someone with a disability or worse. It would make you look like an asshole. When you approach judges and staff, most of the time they're volunteers, unpaid, and taking time out of the chance of entering the competition or enjoying the event to work for the event. If things are not going to plan or smoothly, shouting at them is not quite going to resolve in much. The same goes for event staff. Taking anything out that's going wrong on the people entering is going to drive away people contributing to competition. Without people building models and placing it on your table, there is no event. Without volunteers and people running the event for the community, there is no event. Do not bug the judges until their job is done. Then you can ask them for feedback or questions. Other staff is considered quite safe in that regards. Regarding dropping off and collecting your model, there would be times allocated when to do so. If you're unable due to scheduling or work to collect your model at the appropriate time, maybe not enter the competition or get someone to do it for you. Early collection is also frowned upon, unless you prior approve it with the event that they're going to look after your model or allow you to leave early. Do not touch other people's models or entries. You don't know how fragile or how they're built, and they can be damaged very, very easily. And finally, hygiene. Wash up, smell good, because no one wants to talk to someone that's stinks of lacquer fumes, BO, and weeks old clothing. Doing enough of these events, there are plenty of smelly characters out there, especially in a unventilated small tight room where a swap and sell is occurring. If you have children at that age where they're able to walk freely and before school age, don't bring them. Number 5, feedback and skill. Sometimes it's very difficult to look at a series of models and go, I'm really impressed with the detail, look, or sudden impact of one kit. Why did that not win and another one did? To get a better idea and grasp of what the judges are looking for, the more you model, the more you build, the more you enter, the better ability you have to study a kit and see what the judges are looking for. To change that and learn about those skills a lot quicker, ask the judges and previous winners what their opinion is of your model and where you can improve and what they're looking for that could have placed you higher. Most of the time, they deduct points for flaws that they can see, as well as other aspects such as realism. If this is an online competition you are entering, which is very popular regarding social media and forums, the way you enter and conduct yourself is completely different and may not necessarily be reflected in the rules. First, when taking the photos, do it as clear and neat as humanly possible. Build a large white, black, or light blue backdrop. Light up the area as much as you can and utilize the correct macros to collect a wide variety of photos across many angles and a few close-up detail ones, so the judges can get a really good look at the finish, finer details and aspects that you want them to see. Avoid Photoshop and touching up, as this can be detected and considered cheating. Sadly, in photos, colour, subtle details and small nice things can definitely be missed due to the point of view of the photo. So take a ton of pictures and see what aspects that you really like and just absolutely attracts your attention to when you're looking at the model in person. What the judges are looking for, and most likely these are smaller competitions with less experienced communities lording over, is impact. So a model could be really beautifully made and not too noticed, but another kit that has striking colours, very heavy gradient, large in size, a new build, or depicting a joke, a popular scheme from a superhero or meme, would get the popular vote or have a ton of detail encrusted into it over something very clean and neat. And 7, building schedule. Now, going back to number 1, we talked about scheduling and designing your model around the rules. I did say that designing your model does have its advantages in fitting with the requirements, but there are the disadvantage of if you are to finish your model by a set date, run out of time, and near the end last dash rush what's left over to complete to enter. This can leave inconsistencies in the finish, build and paint aspects of the kit, which are normally the final steps. Where a build and diorama may be really wonderful, though a paint coat or a final scratch build components are quite sloppy, these inconsistencies can be picked up by the judges and they can tell that it was rushed last minute to meet a deadline. This is something just to be considered, and goes down to the decision of, do you finish it, get it out of your life, move on to the next project? Do you miss the competition, enter something else on the shelf, take your time and finish it to a satisfactory standard? Or do you pre-plan a model 1 year in advance and slowly work on it and finish it far too early, or build as you go? These are all valid opportunities, though, with scheduling, allowing a written down time of when you'll build it, when you'll paint it and whatnot, is very helpful, especially if you're only able to paint outside or paint at certain seasons of the year due to extreme weather in your local city or whatnot, where airbrushing or hard to use paints are involved. This is something just to be considered, and goes down to the decision of, do you finish it, get it out of your life, move on to the next project? Do you miss the competition, enter something else on the shelf, take your time and finish it to a satisfactory standard? Or do you pre-plan a model 1 year in advance and slowly work on it and finish it far too early, or build as you go? These are all valid opportunities, though, with scheduling, allowing a written down time of when you'll build it, when you'll paint it and whatnot, is very helpful, especially if you're only able to paint outside or paint at certain seasons of the year due to extreme weather in your local city or whatnot, where airbrushing or hard to use paints are involved. Thank you very much for watching. As always, until next time, stay tuned for further content. We have a few resources in the description bar. We are posting once or twice a week to this channel, as well as putting content on Facebook under the Mokonaman public page. If you have any questions, I'm always happy to answer them in the comment section, and we'll catch you guys next time.